Welcome back to the Super Design Bowl. It's only been 2 years since the last time we recorded a video, but now we're back. My name's Billy, if this is your first time here, and this is Trevor. Trevor, who the hell are you, and what are you doing on the Super Design Bowl? Because you were not in the intro music, and that's an issue.
I believe I even sent you a photo of myself, but no, I'm not in the intro. So my name's Trevor Baumann. I live in Kitchener, Ontario, Canada, and I reached out to Billy less than a year ago. Noticed that Super Design Bowl had not posted in a while, and love the site, so I figured I'd see what I could do to help. So I've just jumped in and tried to arrange some designers, arrange some matchups, and try to keep Billy straight.
Yeah. My wife has been trying for years. Long story short, I basically burned out on the Super Design Bowl because I needed help. Nobody would help me. I couldn't get anyone to help. And still Trevor came along. He's like, I'm going to force you to bring this back because you thought it was a good idea. I still think it's a good idea. It's a fun idea. It's a fun thing to do. So Trevor's been doing all the matchups, and I've been giving as little effort as possible. But after I burned out, we realized that we hadn't talked about all of the logo matchups that we had put up. So I thought, oh, wouldn't it be fun to just not invite anybody on so we could be completely honest and we don't have to be nice to anybody and talk about each one of the logo matchups we've had from 2 years ago. So this is going to be a really fast rundown of all the logos, the good, bad, the ugly. And if you were one of the designers, thank you so much for participating in Super Design Bowl. And I'm going to preemptively apologize if we hurt your feelings. We're not trying to. Well, maybe a little bit. And if you're offended and want to get your logo taken down or something like that, too bad. Sue me, I guess. I don't have time for that.
No, I'm going to say jump in and try it again. Email another shot.
Apply today. So since it's not just going to be me and you talking about these logos, I brought in I wrangled in some very good designers that I'm going to introduce now. First, we're going to talk with Fraser Davidson from the UK. Fraser is a one-time loser of the Super Design Bowl. Yes.
We have that in common.
We've all lost. All three of us are losers. You run a studio called Cub Studio.
That's right.
As well as Field Theory. Not as much anymore.
Not as much anymore now.
Yeah, but a renowned sports logo designer. Much better than I am. We got Joe Moore, another Super Design Bowl loser. Yeah, an animator out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And last but not least, Matt Dawson. You might know him as Stay Gray Pony Boy, which is, I've never asked you about what the fuck. I always assume that's a reference to The Outsiders in some sort of way.
That's a correct assumption.
Yeah. This is the story I've made in my head, Matt, that every day you'd come into work and you'd be always wearing shades of black and gray, and someone every day would say, "Stay gray, Pony Boy," because that's the only colors you would ever wear. And that's every day.
Nailed it. Absolutely.
Really?
Spot on. Yeah.
Wow. That's a really boring story. You got to come with something better than that. Next
time I'll tell you the whole thing.
Okay. Excellent. So, Matt's a fantastic designer. A winner of the Super Design Bowl. So I'm 1-1. So I'm not as such a loser as you guys, all you losers. But whatever. Okay, so let's get right into it. We're going to talk about these logos. I think the biggest reason I wanted to do it without the designers is I was really, really sick of asking, so what were you thinking? What were your ideas? How did you come up with this idea for your logo? I kind of just don't give a shit anymore, right? Because it's a logo for a football team. Who gives a shit? Okay, so speaking of logos, We're going all the way. We're going to start with the Chargers. This was actually a. I know I was just talking smack, but I thought this was actually one of our better matchups, with DK and G versus Kyle Loney. Which
Poor Kyle. Who the
What's
hell
that?
goes up against who goes up against DK and G?
I
That's
know that
what a brave person Kyle is.
it's
That's amazing.
going up against them, and I've lost. I went up against them at one of those like layer tennis things years ago, and they're hard to compete with because they're like vanilla ice cream. Everybody likes them. They're not out to offend anybody or upset anyone's apple cart, and design wise, and they just appeal to a large audience.
What flavor of ice cream would you be, Billy?
Me, I'm whatever flavor is like. You know when you go like Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors. I'm the flavor that no one's tried yet.
Is it like it's been open for a while though, hasn't it? And it's got a bit of a crust on it.
It's got that frosty crust on top.
Yeah.
No one is really sure what it tastes like, but
it's probably next to a really nice flavor though, isn't it? It's like a fudgy thing next to it that's well popular.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's odd that you're talking about ice cream, since you hate ice cream in any form, and I feel sorry for your kids. What?
You brought it up. I wasn't
you're
talking
right.
about ice cream.
You're right. I did. Who would you guys? Let me get a head count. Who would you have voted for? Snap decision.
I would go Kyle Loney, although a second AFC West horse logo probably isn't going to fly, is it?
Yeah, but let's forget all that.
I would have gone Kyle.
Joe, you would have gone Kyle. Matt,
Kyle.
I think Kyle with a little more finesse in certain areas would feel like it gets my vote. I like the DK and G thing, but there's something about Kyle's that feels more classically NFL.
Yeah.
The DKNG one, I like the A in the Chargers word mark. It works less well though in the LA. It's sort of a.
It does, but it works so well with the L.
It
so
does
good
work
with
so
the
well
L.
with the L. Yeah.
I think it's. Yeah, I think they're both nice. I think the Kyle one needs a little bit of tweakage, right? Like where the H connects to the big C. I don't see why you need that.
Yeah, I would put a break. I would have the tail of the G make up the sort of the lightning bolt, which I like. He's almost got that there.
Yeah.
And have maybe curtail the C before you get there. But I like the idea. I think it's I working in the horse head's really nice.
Yeah. It gets a little fiddly in the horse head. Like some of the details are a little too itty bitty. I wonder if you could do it in a simplified way, kind of like how the lightning bolt is on the main. I think that works well. I actually think these are both nice logos. Cool. We have a lot to go through here, so we're not gonna spend too much time on these. One of the worst parts about doing the review shows is I would have to like think of things to say about a logo for 30 minutes, and
you don't have to think at all anymore.
Yeah, I don't have that much time. Any parting thoughts? Which one would you? I'm going to ask you about this a lot. Which one would you rather wear on a t-shirt?
DK and G. Yeah. Personally, I'd rather wear that on a hat.
Yes, I think I completely agree. The DK and G one works really well on a hat. Because that's what it always comes down to me. It's a merch. Which one works better as merch?
I'm still going to go with the Kyle Loney one. I like that. I think it's a really good. Yeah, a little bit of a tweak, and I think that could be quite strong.
Agreed.
Kyle's would look cool, like shaved into like the back of your head, like yeah.
I've tried shaving logos in the back of people's heads. I would definitely
Really?
go with KNGs on that one.
It would be easier to do. Yeah. Okay. On to the next. Okay, this one is Laurent Varlet, which is he was an old designer of ours, an old intern of ours years ago, and Luke Coco. This is this is for AFC Richmond, which is a doesn't really exist. It's from Ted Lasso, and what's interesting about this matchup is Laurent won. Laurent won despite getting the wrong dog because they're like the greyhounds, and he put a bulldog on there and he did not do the proper research whatsoever. Let me ask you this: shadows on logos. Laurent's is pretty nice, but it's looks more like an illustration to me. But in 2023, is that okay or is that not okay?
It's an opacity, isn't it? It's blue. It's that dark blue he's used for the ears and everything, but on 50%.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Which I think technically in logos, sports logos, that's cheating.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be hard to screen print this.
The other thing, he's got a completely different blue for the ends of the ribbon. That's nowhere else, is it?
It is nowhere else. We've added another color, but I mean the helmet in itself is got 3 shades of gray.
Yeah.
In it.
None of which seem to be in the 2 shades of dog gray.
No.
So he's really gone to town with the colors.
But in 2023, does that matter? I mean, I guess we still have to embroider shit, but that's a sort of a larger discussion.
What the discussion about whether things are okay in 2023?
No, whether technology is caught up to the fact that we can print 1,000 colors and it doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
The fact that we don't have to fax our logo anymore. Everything's in email. Everything's digital. So does a logo have to work in 2 color? Like because Paul Rand was faxing his logo ideas over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I've noticed something. Is it not, like, look at the eyes and the eyebrows. It's not actually symmetrical. Has he hand drawn both sides of that logo as well?
I was wondering the same thing, because if you look at like the bit around the mouth, like particularly like the little tufts that go up on the sides of his mouth, depending on what side, I mean, they're different. And like I don't know if that's intentional. Like I don't know if he maybe mirrored this and then wanted to go in and add some little differences, so it wasn't completely mirrored. But yeah, I noticed that too, Fraser.
That's really interesting. I had never even noticed that. I mean, a lot of times when you will do something symmetrical, you can give it a different light source, or a directional light source, so that you can change the shadows from one side to the next, so it's not so boring. But this doesn't seem like a light source sort of thing, because he's established that the light source is sort of coming straight down, even though it's 3/4 on the helmet. No, I guess the shadow on the helmet it makes sense, and the shine on the nose makes sense. I could see what he was doing. He was trying to get a light source coming from the top left, coming down into it. Yeah. It's not a horrible dog. I don't know if it works as a logo. This thing is a little, it's not refined enough at all. I think conceptually, the idea of having the sword create the sort of, what is that? Sort of a English shield.
So it's the shield of the city of London. So London it's a George Cross, so like the English flag, and then the top right quarter of it is a little sword like the one he's got. So what he's done is he's kind of rearranged the elements. So Richmond is sort of just about technically in London, but it's sort of verging on being outside of London. So
I didn't know that. I didn't even know I didn't even know Richmond was a real place.
It's a real place, yeah.
Oh, I thought everything was made up. Okay. Has the town of Richmond embraced the show at all?
If you go there, you'll see a lot of American people taking pictures, and if there's one thing we can kind of do, it's sort of play up to that, that sort of stereotype. And there's lots of kind of we don't really have like many red phone boxes anymore. But they keep them in Richmond, and that's where American people get their pictures taken.
It's a good idea.
It's a good idea, yeah. What I'd say about this logo is it has quite a lot of differing line weights.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Yeah. So like when you're designing something, you want every element of the logo to look like it's related to each other, like they all belong in the same song together. And the line on the dog, the line on the shield, the lines on the sword all feel like they're from different logos, right?
Does anybody know what what's going on with the AFC at the bottom? There seems to be.
That was the first thing that jumped out to me.
I haven't even.
Oh, it's
I think
sword.
he's trying to incorporate that sword. Yeah, that kind of.
But then the little dot after the F.
That's the ball. That's. I don't know. I have no idea. Probably.
Really?
Might be the ball.
I think there's a dot between the A and the F that's part of the sword hilt.
Yep.
Oh.
Well, yeah,
Right.
but the one between the F and the C. What's that? Hell is that dot?
Just there.
It's another hilt. You can't have too many hilts.
I'm still team ball. I'm still voting ball on this one, but I could be wrong.
It's probably cricket ball size, though, isn't it? It's not particularly in keeping with a football team.
So if you were going to fix this logo, I think you pick. For me, this sort of thickness of the shield is kind of where you want to be, and how can we simplify this logo to reflect this sort of line weight? Yeah, there's too many fiddly things with doing the overlay with this dog and the cross. And
would you lose the dog altogether?
Well, yeah, or I'd reimagine it in a different way, right? As more of a maybe heraldic dog. Is that a word? Heraldic dog, maybe.
The thing about the dog, right, is that in sort of logo form, a greyhound dog is quite a specific dog, not because of its muzzle features. It's like doing the head of a giraffe or the head of a kangaroo. They both look like giant fucking mice.
Yes.
The aspect of those animals that is inherently kangaroo-like and giraffe-like is their silhouette. So I would put maybe a dark, all black, in this case, silhouette of a greyhound looking fast.
Can we all do a logo challenge against each other for a fake team called the Giant Fucking Mice? Just see.
Yeah, you want to do it? You want to do a 5-way challenge?
I'll set that one up next.
Yeah,
I say we do it because I love those three words together.
I'm gonna use so many line weights. It's gonna be crazy.
Okay, on to the next. Well, Laurent won it. I think he deserved to win, even though he got the wrong dog. Okay, Eagles. Dan Blessing, Michael Irwin. Let's see who won this. Wow, this is a close matchup. Michael Irwin won this one. Let's start with the winner. I'll give you my quick thoughts. Number one, I like that he's using the old green, the Kelly green. I love the Eagles with the Kelly green. The Eagle, it's not bad. It's not there's some sort of weird things happening here. In the
his feet are outstretched.
Yeah,
to
They're
kind of
upside down too, aren't they? Don't the talon?
yeah. You'd think like downward facing.
catching
Yeah.
a touchdown.
maybe
I
they
can't
should have
tell.
put a ball
I can't
in.
tell if he's trying to hide an E in that claw talon thing.
Maybe
Is that a
that's
hidden
what he's
E?
doing.
Yeah.
I do like his the face looks pretty good. I like
I think the
what
face
he's-
is actually the Eagles logo, though, isn't it?
It's
Oh,
pretty
is it
close.
already?
Very
That's pretty-
close.
Well, then maybe that's why I like it. It's not bad. It's not the best thing I've ever seen, but it's not horrible. When you're dealing with Fraser, let me ask you or anybody. Okay, so like you have the white outline, right? And the outlines on sports logos they're everywhere, and a lot of it is because you need to trap it in a shape, you need to embroider it, you need to have it be able to kind of go on anywhere, right? So you kind of just give it these fat outlines, and it sort of protects the logo in a lot of ways for applications. But would you have simplified the outline more on something like this? You can see every little wingtip, it's got a bump. Is it better to smooth that out, the one that goes around here, kind of like he's done on the beak curve?
He's
It's
done it on the
just
tail
smoothed out.
too.
What?
He's done it on the tail as well. The
Yeah.
other thing is, if you kind of look at the line weight on the left hand side, it's slightly thicker than the wingtips on the right hand side, I think, and some of that's where he's just pulled out the curve a little bit. I think I would say the line width on the left hand side needs to be as thick as that negative space between the sort of feathers, in order for the feathers to kind of feel that line space between the feathers to feel justified. Do you know what I mean? But also it makes sense that would be the case because that wing is closer to you. The elements within it would be bigger, so you can kind of use that sort of artistic license in that way, I'd say,
to create some depth. Yeah, but I think it all it needed was maybe another pass of simplification and cleanup.
Yeah.
This one, he says. Let me see if I can get this better in the screen here. You know what I never noticed about this one is he's got the Liberty Bell in there. That's the first time I've noticed that. Did you guys get that right away?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm a slow adult. Matt Dawson, give me your thoughts. I'm putting you on the spot.
I like this one. I think I like it because it's so different. I'm not 100% convinced that it feels football to me. It feels like it could more be a football club. Like feels more soccer to me. I don't know if it's maybe that heraldry kind of feel that this has, but I do like that it's a non-typical take on an eagle, as far as like a sporty eagle. Also, and I mean, I don't know shit about eagle talons or claws, but like these also stand out to me in a I don't know what's going on with them kind of way. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to me. I would say it gets points for just being a bit more unique and left of center in my mind.
Yeah, I think it might have even done better if he would have left the type off of it, because it's sort of stealing the thunder of his eagle a little bit. What do you think, Joe?
It feels heavy,
It does feel heavy, yeah. Do you think that could be solved with simplification?
Yeah, I think what immediately jumped out to me, to kind of piggyback off Matt there, is the talons. To me, it feels like that could be simplified, and that would I don't know, that would do a lot just in my mind. But I don't know, I just also the what's that, like, dark teal color that the Eagles use now as their primary. I don't know, it just feels heavy.
Yeah. I mean, I like what he's trying to do with the bevel, with the lighting source, but it does sort of complicate things a lot. So I like the idea of doing the lighting source on the logo, but I wonder if just simplifying it would help. You know what? I noticed the kerning on Eagles needs a lot of help. Because you've got the L and the A, and all the letters are spaced right? But you have to account for the visual gaps between the L and the E and the EAAG, right? So you gotta separate the GL and the ES, so it becomes a little more balanced, right?
Agreed. Yeah, there's the mathematical balance, and then there's like the optical balance,
Yeah.
and I think leaning more into that optical spacing would help with this type. I do. I mean, as somebody who works a lot with type, I respect that he included the type with it in such a way. Like stylistically, I don't know if it's the style that I would have particularly gone with, but he put it all out there for sure.
I think the style matches his illustration, so they go together. I wonder if there was a way to incorporate the type in more of a lockup. And a lot of NFL logos are like this. They have type and they have their mascot, right? And a lot of times they don't totally work together. They were sort of designed separately, which I hate that about NFL logos. But I think it's sort of something that's sort of just been grandfathered in. Cool.
I appreciate that he's moved the clapper on the bell just to the right there, because otherwise the way they're positioned,
yes,
that's going to look like pencils, isn't it?
Yeah, agreed. I wonder if there was a way that he could put the crack in the bell somehow. He probably tried that. Okay, this was an interesting matchup. Chicago Blackhawks, Mr. Canos, Sergei Manikov. Okay, so Sergei, he's European. Okay, so let me ask you this, guys. If you're doing the Chicago Blackhawks in 2023, redesigning it, knowing the political culture that we live in, I personally would never put a Native American on a logo right now in 2023.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same.
And so do I think Sergei did a bad thing? No, I don't think he did a bad thing. I think he's probably just not involved in the cultural understandings of what's happening in American sports right now, right? So,
well, also given that the current logo is a rendering of a Native American, to be fair.
Totally. But if you're doing it in 2023 or 2022, and this guy did it, I wouldn't put it on there. I actually felt weird about putting this logo out there. I felt full disclosure. I was like, oh God, am I going to promote this one? Because not that this image is offensive in like, it's not like a caricature. It's a respectful image, but I didn't want to get any sort of blowback, and I felt a little weird about it. But divorcing the iconography aspect, the political aspect of it, I think using the mohawk as part of the C is actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think that's smart.
No comments? Am I overthinking this?
It's hard to say. I wouldn't do it either. Just because I think by putting any sort of rendering of a minority group, I think you were just stepping your foot into potential criticism, either immediately down the line. I just think it's not worth it. But yeah, I don't feel like the rendering is disrespectful in any way.
No. You know what he did do, as opposed to the AFC Richmond one, is he did sort of pick a thick line weight and work with it and stick with it and create a much stronger logo mark than the AFC Richmond, right? In that sense, if we're sort of comparing it graphically.
He picked the colors, so he's used the colors of the the feathers in the contemporaneous Black Hawk logos. The back of the current head as well. So he's sort of tried to take elements from what's currently there as well and place that in his mark.
Yeah, I can tell you guys don't really want to talk about that logo. Okay, let's go to this one. What do you think about people presenting logo marks on textured paper Photoshop mock-ups?
I think it's become, and I don't know how old this particular designer is, but like I think it's become part of the expected design culture as far as presentation of things.
Yeah.
I still think, good old fashioned, clean, no superfluous textures or anything is the way to go personally. But I see this a lot, especially nowadays. So yeah, I did notice that on this one. Like I had to make sure it wasn't just like my bandwidth that was tricking my eye. But
we can blame True Grit Texture Supply, which is not a sponsor of this podcast.
Not a sponsor. Okay, not a sponsor. That's
Is it sort of gritty because this designer is sort of trying to implant a sort of an anachronistic element into your mind when you're viewing this logo? This is a slightly old-fashioned logo. Look, it's on old-fashioned paper. Is that what you think he's saying there? Maybe.
Yes.
There's round edges.
I think so. Yeah, everything's rounded and worn.
It looks like something that actually could have been created in the 1930s or something from
it does
someone's nephew who owned the team or whatever. It looks like it was definitely created in like a Procreate kind of thing, which I don't dislike. There's an awkwardness to it that feels vintage. I don't know if I like that awkwardness though.
There's something. One, I've got this weird. I don't know. I've got this weird particular thing where I like for mascot-esque logos to be facing right. So anytime something's facing left, it immediately feels.
It looks off.
Not incorrect, but off. Like, what did this bird forget that he's going back to retrieve?
Yeah, that's our Western bias, right? Because we read left to right.
That's an American thing.
Yeah,
because if it's a football, if it's a soccer crest, it's looking into the chest. It's looking towards the center of the jersey.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Oh, I didn't
so
know
I think
that.
you find a lot more soccer logos face to the west.
That's interesting.
Interesting. Huh. Yeah, in America, this facing left, it looks wrong.
Yeah,
because we believe in the right is the best. Okay, the Jets. Okay, Eric Hanky Panky, Ben Douglas. Well, this got a lot of votes. Eric won. Let's start with the winner.
I would love it if the Jets would use that lime green. I think that's cool.
It's a little. I think we're all just taking a moment to take it in. I wish the oval was a little more football shaped. Like he's got a football shape at the bottom. I feel like why can't we just use that shape up here?
Yeah.
Right?
I would say you'd pick two of those greens. There's now three greens, one of which sort of impinges on the logo itself. And I feel like two of them be sufficient.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there as well. Yeah, and I wonder, and again, I think this is more due to modern day trends or things that we're used to. The AFL, NFL inclusion down at the bottom, like this feels more apparel piece, like more like lifestyle brand, something you'd see in like their pro shop or like their gear shop versus, you know, I don't know how this would get implemented in maybe like a brand main brand kit, but it's interesting. Like I like the simplification of things. I'm with you, Billy, on the football shape. Like it's so close to I don't know, even just echo each other would be nice.
And then you could make the Jets trail look like the laces, right? Like you can design it so as have a little bit of a lace kind of thing to it. My favorite part of this logo is actually the Y to the J.
Yeah,
that's sort of the best part of the whole thing.
But also that, like, by losing that space between the Y and the J, you get you know the 3-letter contraction that you get for all the teams, and obviously the teams that have cities that have 2 teams, you get MYG and MYJ. I think having those 3 little bits together actually helps kind of reinforce that aspect of it.
Yeah. The only issue, of course, is the YJ becomes such a tight lockup that the other letters, like you'd have to do something maybe with the S and the N to make it feel a little more locked up, maybe. I don't know. But I like some of the ideas there. The Jets. This is I think you're gonna have a hard time selling and the designer's probably gonna kill me on this one because he's like, oh, what a douche. Like putting a plane and a building for New York anything is a really going to be a touchy combination, right? But if we ignore that part of it, I like what he was trying to do here, where the building is the J, and then he's got an illustration of a jet, and it all sort of puzzle pieces together pretty well.
Yeah, I think there's some good moves on the J building concept. You know, like I would almost like to see it without the jet, just to see that J building mark a bit more clearly would be kind of nice.
I like how the J fits into the negative of the wing underneath. I could see the J by itself without the jet.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying.
I don't know. Is the building necessary? Is that like, I'm going to be geographically dumb here, but is that that's not the Empire State Building.
I think it's trying to be.
Is it?
Yeah, I thought it was the Empire State Building. Yeah.
Maybe.
That's kind of what I read.
It's a little wonky, but yeah, it would be interesting to see it work without an actual jet on there, and to see if you could actually maybe layer some buildings that created a J shape instead of a building that makes a turn. It sounds like someone's knocking at someone's door trying to get in.
Why don't you have somebody locked in a cupboard?
Oh, not me. Somebody does. Okay. There's something about the brighter greens. You know, we look at the Eagles and the Jets one. There's something drab when we get into these darker early 2000s.
Definitely when you have to kind of contrast it against black.
Yeah.
They made the key colors darker and then they used black as the contrast color. It really made it sort of simultaneously harder to read and duller.
I think duller is it's trying to make it look tougher, but it's becoming a little duller. But I think good efforts on both these designers. Okay, on to America's most hated team, the Patriots. Pete Schwaddle, Matthew McElroy. Those are a couple of names. Those sound like football players, if you ask me. Matthew McElroy won. I got a lot of issues with the rendering on this. You know, when you guys are doing faces in a logo, I always kind of start with reference, a model, and I can simplify off of that. A lot of the facial features on this feel like it wasn't completely referenced because they're a little out of whack, a little out of shape.
Yeah. The mouth sort of at 50 degrees and the nose is about 70 degrees as well. They're a little bit bit off kilter. I'd say, given the sort of the shadow the brow is casting across the cheeks, you would have some shadow cast on the philtrum and the sort of upper lip by the nose.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're going to pick out a bit more highlight to extend the face to the left a bit, you'd pick out maybe a bit of cheekbone and possibly a bit more of the kind of curve of the chin is curving in such a way that it makes you feel like the chin is concave rather than convex.
Yeah. When in doubt, get reference, right? I have a whole if I go through my old Google Drive or whatever, I have tons of pictures of interns posing. Wow, this sounds really bad. But I've got lots of pictures of interns posing, holding broom handles that are supposed to be swords, standing on top of desks because I need a weird angle. And when I was, that's not funny. When I was teaching, it was like, why aren't you're making this harder on yourself by just trying to freehand something.
Why did you have to stop teaching, Billy?
Well, we can't really. I'm not allowed to talk about that. There's like an NDA thing that I can't go into. Yeah. So I think it could have worked.
Hold on. We haven't discussed the N and the E.
I was just about to ask that same question.
Wait, what?
And the hair.
Hair, yeah.
That's an N?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's an N and the E?
Assuming.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a Roman numeral 4 down at the bottom, which I don't know why.
Wow.
But maybe that's unintentional. I think the N and the E is...
What's the 4 stand for?
I have no idea. The N and the E is interesting. I think what bothers me about it is that it's stylistically different in terms of like its lack of sharpness that almost everything else has. And then we've got these kind of soft, almost Procreate-esque forms doing that.
Yeah. Man, I didn't even notice the N and the E. It just goes to show what kind of crappy designer I am.
Could you have the Roman numeral backwards? I just looked it up. They have 6 Super Bowl wins, not 4.
So maybe that is interesting. Listen, I don't want to keep beating up on this logo. I'm gonna get hate mail in a second here.
No, I like the kind of, he's tried to add hidden elements. It's sort of it has an overall. We sort of talked about the overall rightward facing. It has a sort of overall shape to it that would fit on a helmet. You can see what he's trying to do.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, I think this would work really well. The shape works well on a helmet. There's some issues with the curve from the flag to the collar. It's like a little lumpy, right? Mm-hmm. But that could have been smoother. And the star doesn't really form onto the hat correctly. I like I said, there's technical issues, but he did win. This is a much better executed logo, but it's really weird. It's like I don't know. It looks like looks like one of Fraser's superstars of a wrestling sort of character.
I remember whenever I first saw this one, I was looking for a mole because, like, I don't know if I thought it was like Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead almost. Like, I feel like I was like, is he wearing like a cowboy hat? Like, like there was like almost something that looked more cowboy-esque to me. I think like the line work and like the I don't know, like the highlights and shadows are fantastic. To me, someone who actually couldn't go in and draw this. but it didn't read immediately to me as like a Patriot.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it as Patriot probably because I knew the the colors and it was called Patriots. But yeah, it's well executed. It's just sort of a weird.
I'm going to say it. The lips and the chin are too big. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, no
I think
kidding.
otherwise it's fine.
Do you think it's
Yeah,
playing
well,
into
it's
the
like
perspective?
he's if you can.
Yeah.
It's like you know, how do I put this? How do I? Fuck.
I mean, yes, you could. It
It's
could
like he's
be a
looking
wide
down
angle.
at someone.
It could be a wide angle shot from about here
Yeah.
with a 90 mil lens on it.
Yeah.
It could be that kind of a shot, but then you have to ask yourself why.
Well, maybe it's supposed to be looking intimidating.
It does kind of have like that Disney. Can we say Disney on this show? Like that
Sure.
Disney protagonist or antagonist, like giant chin kind of vibe, like
yeah.
So it could be a stylistic choice for sure. I definitely get a Disney chin vibe though.
The more I sit with it, the more I like it because it's just so weird.
I'd like to ask a question for the group. Is there another way to go with Patriots other than a Patriot?
Well, could you do like could you do like a Cowboys kind of a thing? Because there'd just be an icon, like yeah, I think you just kind of do it in a graphic way and not a mascot way, right? Kind of like the New England Revolution.
Or you'd use a slightly old timey flag, wouldn't you? Like I think there's other kind of elements of their branding where they've done that, like a sort of slightly historic flag.
Well, Pete, I like your logo, even though you lost. The Denver Nuggets. So this was actually the first logo that came back when we actually started coming back and doing these logos, and you could see that we had lost all of our momentum, and we barely got anybody voting because I blew it. I fucking suck. But this was Danielle Podesek. I'm really bad at reading. Versus Midnight 7 Design. Midnight 7 won with this jaunty lass, or lad, I should say. This is fun. I don't see this as a primary logo, but as merch design. Would you agree?
Well, it's very much playing at the Nuggets secondary, tertiary logo.
Yeah.
Because
they have a history of this crap, right?
Yeah, and typically, guys holding a basketball, and you're holding a nugget.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What is happening here in the mouthful region?
Tongues out, Billy. Hungry for gold.
Yep.
Oh, that's a tongue.
Yeah.
Is that
I think you just came up with the new tagline: "Hungry for gold."
Hungry for gold.
I'm not. I don't read it as tongue, but I guess, and that's probably just because we're limited to not using pink here or red or something.
I think if that center line, like that line that's kind of like bisect, like if maybe that were a little longer, it would read a bit more like a mascot-esque tongue. I think what weirds me out about that tongue mouth area is the circle behind it. Like that tongue is almost in the center, so like I read like this weird kind of like donut, aftertaste with it, to where like I kind of wish that big white circle wasn't behind it.
I see what you mean.
There's something too symmetrical about the circle and like that.
I mean, I could see why they wanted to use it to sort of simplify their outline and put it in some sort of shape, because then with that, I don't know, maybe get rid of the circle and that white outline just to keep it clean.
Can I ask? eyesight loss in one eye, particularly associated with 19th century prospecting?
I don't know. Joe, did their old logo have an eye patch?
I'm glad you came to me for this. No, just looking at the internet, it does not appear that the old logo has the,
Yeah.
the mishap, presumably with the pickaxe.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe it was a prospector fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Claim jumpers.
The way he's throwing it around, you're going to put an eye out.
You're absolutely right about that. Yeah.
I do like that the one eye that is included is the kind of like pie eye, like old school pie eye Mickey Mouse sort of eye, which I love those eyes on mascots personally.
I did too. I kind of wish it would be nice to do this in everything in the vintage Mickey Mouse style, right?
Like on a textured background.
Yeah. Let's redraw it and procreate. This yellow and blue are so close in value that they're vibrating when you put the yellow directly on that blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you might want to.
I'm not sure I would have included the type on this one if I were this contestant. I think the illustration is really strong. There's a lot of good moves there. I would have left it at that personally.
Well, that's exciting. Okay, the Danielle with a very clean, simple. Can we say Draplin-esque inspired logo? Not that Draplin is a unique designer in himself. He's got a lot of reference points as well. But if you want to put it into a contemporary design camp, this falls into the Draplin Design Co. Sort of camp. What took me a while to understand about this logo is the pickaxe. I kept reading that as some sort of grimace, like a mouth.
It's because it's connected.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Needs separation of something, I think.
But I do like the mountain to the basketball. I think is it's clean. It makes sense. I wonder if there would be a way to make that more of a feature. I don't know. Maybe not.
Do you maybe curve that center line of the basketball instead of it being just straight? Because it's not dead center in the the circle. Do you maybe just curve it a little bit so you're looking at okay, maybe it reads more as a basketball?
Well, you don't read it as basketball?
I do. Yeah. I didn't know if that would make it more overt that this is a ball.
Well, it is round and it is orange.
Mm-hmm.
And it is for the Denver Nuggets. So I think you can take liberties with the basketball shape. I think that's an interesting idea, though. Things that I do appreciate about the logo is I do like how the mountaintop, this curve is a reflection of the centrifugal curves that are going on there, and it's just it's a reflection of that, and that's sort of nice. It's nice. I got nothing else to say about it than that.
I feel they could have done the same thing, maybe with the head of the what is it? Pickaxe, whatever it is. Because that's a tighter circle,
right.
and definitely on the inside.
Yeah,
I feel like that could have been you could have squared off the ends a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
Pickaxes aren't completely necessarily sharp, so I feel like maybe you could have had that inside edge of it be as you say, share the same radius. Focus.
Yeah, I wonder if it would. I think if you did that, you would have to create separation with the handle, or you're really not going to think it's a pickaxe.
And combine that with Joe's point about moving having that arc, that central arc a bit more, you could bring down where the actual pickaxe head would be, so that you could make make the pickaxe head itself longer in both directions to fit nicely between the Denver and the Nuggets word marks.
Agreed. Yeah. Having it fill that space would be ideal, I think. Okay, OKC. This is the Oklahoma City Thunder, Frazier, in case you didn't know. They play basketball. Jordan Eshwige. I apologize to all these people, these designers. Andy Smith. That's a good name. I can say Andy Smith. Jordan 1. Let's start with him. The biggest thing that's jumping out to me about this is this peach. This is a wild choice, I think. It's nothing. I'm not seeing anything out there with this peach. Am I full of shit? You guys feeling the peach?
It's an interesting color for sure, especially if something's associated with. I feel like you could have had like a really rich and dramatic color palette with this, like especially in relation to something like Storm-like.
Yeah.
And then the peach is definitely a bold choice.
Joe, this is your neck of the woods. Is the peach like supposed to represent the dirt there? Isn't the dirt like sort of this color?
Is it supposed to?
I don't know.
Well, first of all, this is an improvement on the Thunder's logo. Full stop. The Oklahoma City Thunder have the worst branding in all of professional sports. Their logo is like a Dorito.
I think I might disagree with that, but there's worse.
It's bad. Yeah. I think. I don't know. If it was me, the peach is it's just too washed out. I think the Thunder actually have a pretty nice palette with that, very New York Knicks, blue, orange, whatever. Yeah. As far as what it's supposed to represent, I couldn't say. But we'll say the dirt. When you said that, though, I immediately looked out my window and I was like, I don't think it's peach.
It's kind of red out. It's kind of red dirt. Don't you guys have red dirt?
Clay.
Yeah.
That's why no one has basements, apparently. It's because it's all clay. Yeah. And if
there's a couple of very minor issues I have with some of the details. Like kind of just tweaky stuff. Like, like the distance between the K and the O is different than the K to the C, right? And maybe they did that because of this large gap and they had to optically fix it, but that's throwing me off. And then the fact that this angle on the K is different than this angle on the C, while everything else is reflective, is throwing me off too. Right? Like there's little details that are not lined up right.
The big thing for me is, why is the ball not rendered across the center? Why is the kind of the main cross of the quarters of the ball? Why is there a gap there?
Well, that
suggests
isn't that what a basketball looks like? Is that not what a basketball looks like?
No, it goes all the way through.
Does it go all the way through?
It goes all the way through, yeah.
Oh, so what do I know?
It sort of suggests that there's meaning in that maybe there isn't.
Yeah. Interesting.
I wonder if they tried it and maybe it made that upper portion a bit too busy, because then you start to get all these little compartments. Yeah. So like you'd have like these two extra compartments like right above. Yeah,
you'd have two little
K
squares.
It's just that those compartments are sort of fundamentally recognizable as a basketball, whereas now, I'd say, at first glance, I don't necessarily read it as a fully formed basketball. It feels like I'm supposed to sort of notice something in that I'm maybe not.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate and why
Does
that
it
decision
work
might have
without the
been made.
basketball?
Yeah.
Right? Could
Probably
you just
so.
put
Yeah.
more clouds up there? Right? Why do basketball people always have to put basketballs on their logos?
So you know what sport it is, Billy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wasn't that a thing with like expansion teams in the NBA? Like your logo had to have a basketball in it.
Really? That was a rule?
Like the
Really?
Magic and when the Heat
Miami Heat.
came in and
Oh,
Oh
really?
wow.
Pelicans, I think that was a thing.
A fine. Wow. Crazy.
That's how we say it in Oklahoma.
I can tell. This is not a bad logo. Let me just say that. We're nitpicking. Just because that's what designers do, because we're assholes. This one is very interesting. This is from Andy Smith, which is a great name.
Bundesliga. That's what I'm feeling here.
Yeah.
Yeah. German football team.
I think
Like Schalke 04 Thunder.
Yeah. If there wasn't, if these weren't curves.
If they weren't curves, yeah, they wouldn't allow that.
Yeah. I actually think I'd love to see this without the curves.
Yeah.
If you're not seeing this right now, it's the O, K, and the C.
And then I think, well, I don't know that it makes it more of a lightning bolt, but obviously the K is, evocative of a lightning bolt being the thunder. But I don't know that the curve sells it more than like straight lines would,
Yeah. Do you like, when you're doing a monogram logo, you typically, and Matt, you know this, you'll typically work with the shadows and the spaces, right, in a weave pattern.
Yeah,
right?
kind of alternate them.
You alternate it so that it becomes more. This one, the spacing, the space or whatever, is overlaid on top of everything, which sort of makes sense. You get the O and the C, and you can see it animated or something. You see the lightning bolt coming down. But if I was doing this, if this was me, I would have weaved it and tried to see if I could figure it out in one color, maybe.
No, I think you're right, because not only that, because the O, the K, and the C, at least in some sense, should hold their order front to back or back to front. Whereas at the moment you've got O and C at the bottom and the K above all of them.
Just slapped on top of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about I would have had a real issue with the top and the bottom of the K on the whatever this part of the K is called, the stick, right? I don't know if I would have had it go flat or if I would have had it use the same spacing that you've got from here to here and have the top curve, and the bottom curve. So it sort of looked like it was more incorporated into the circumferences, the symmetrical designs, not symmetrical, but cylindrical.
Yeah, they've sort of done that a bit with the rest of the other part of the K.
Yeah,
It's sort of got an angle on it.
I think it was a really interesting attempt, and I would workshop it for another week.
I think I prefer it without the word thunder there either.
Without the word thunder?
Yeah, I don't think it's needed.
I don't mean to challenge that in a confrontational way. Like, I think that my overarching thing with these thunder logos is the abundance of lightning. And like, I know they're synonymous, but lightning is not thunder. So like, if the thunder wasn't there, I honestly don't know what I would be looking at. Like, I don't know if I'd be looking at like a logo for like a high-end restaurant or, like an electrical symbol on like a utility box or something.
Doesn't even have a basketball in it.
Doesn't even have a basketball. Oh my god!
it wouldn't pass expansion team guidelines.
Seriously.
But yeah, I don't know. I think I just take most issue with the lightning bolt presence in each. But
Interesting.
Jordan's had the cloud, you know, like.
Okay, we're moving on. This is a fun matchup. The Pittsburgh Steelers with Ty McConnell and James Gibson. Those are good. Those are good Pittsburgh names right there. Ty won here. This is really reminiscent of the old Columbus Crew logo from the color scheme and the sort of the hard hat sort of thing going on there. This is, if you're not understanding what's happening here, it's a steel worker and he's incorporated his design to the end of an I-beam. And it's a real shame that Steelers doesn't begin with the letter I, or this would be an amazing logo. You know what I'm saying?
He's done a really good job on the rendering of the face.
Yeah, and this
Great
actually kind of goes back to what we talked about with the other AFC Richmond logo, is symmetrical design, but then you're choosing a light source and doing your secondary colors, playing with that light source, right? And
are you taking the double shoulders to be braces?
Yeah.
was that a question?
Yeah. I'm wondering if that's how you're reading that.
I think so.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the only part that's kind of throwing me off. It looks like he's wearing maybe like 2 sets of suspenders, which is maybe, I don't know, maybe that's like a OSHA compliance for a steel
Or
worker
maybe it's a
something.
throwback to their striped uniforms.
Oh, okay.
That would be even cooler.
Do you?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Is that a little new metal goatee or neck? Adam's apple.
Oh yeah, this thing. I think it's supposed to be neck,
Right?
but
he's a steel worker by day, a new metal guitarist by night.
Yeah,
I
wonder if
Pittsburgh scene.
Maybe I don't wish, but I keep wanting to see a bridge in his hat because it's the city of like bridges, right?
Oh yeah,
They're famous for their bridges, and I'm like, is that a bridge? Is that supposed to be a bridge? I don't think so.
That would be nice. I do like that he has one of the stars in the center. I think that's a nice nod.
I think I would. You know how when you're coming down to the tips on these yellow things and they're sort of thick and rounded off, you got to do that with the star too, because it's going to get too fiddly here. You're going to have to thicken it up and round it off just a tiny bit.
I would maybe move the star to the helmet as well. It feels like a slightly eccentric cravat. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, in a good way. I mean, you are British.
Well, I appreciate a good cravat.
Yeah,
Is it steel worker, or is it a little bit white collar?
What else are you going to put down there? An S? That's actually a good idea. Yeah, we could make that a stylized S.
Make that a nice S.
Yeah. Well rendered execution. When you can tell when someone has like gone through and rounded all the corners that they've actually spent some time with it and not just did sharp angles everywhere. Pittsburgh Steelers. This is interesting. I think the Steelers have one of the best logos, not because it's like a beautiful logo, but it's just so simple and clean, and they sort of have kept it for all those years. And this sort of is a riff on it. It kind of, I don't really have strong feelings about it one way or the other. What do you guys think?
It feels very, I think Matt had said this earlier about, I don't remember which one, but it feels very much like an apparel piece you would see in like a pro shop or.
Sure. I think the typefaces they're using they're appropriate, sort of the version of I forget what they're called now, what the typeface is, but I think the typeface is appropriate and it works well. The idea of having the hammer, is this supposed to be like in front of the anvil? The problem with the anvil, of course, is sort of an awkward, unsymmetrical shape. And I wonder if you could do something with that.
Yeah, it does feel like there's maybe a clever way to incorporate a P and an S or something like that into the asymmetric anvil. The one thing I know it's just a tiny thing, but I do like is the taper on the sort of handle of the hammer.
The fact that it's
a bit
coming
weight.
out.
Yeah, just I don't know. I appreciate you could just do it with a straight line, but the fact that it gives it some kind of form, the fact that it's tapered slightly.
I wonder if this would even work better without the anvil at all. Give me a cool hammer. Give me a nice simple hammer, with the stars around it. What about like a skull and crossbones? 2 hammers with the stars, with the P and the S, like a straight edge logo. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So this is what I think we should do, fellas. We've got a lot more to go through. I think we should end the show now and come back and do a part 2. You don't have to agree to this right now. But I will be emailing you and bugging you about coming back on the show and talking more BS about hard work that these logo designers have done that we're going to shit all over.
I appreciate that you stopped where you stopped.
Okay. Yeah. I also have to pee really bad.
About 3 more.
I knew it.
About 3 more from here, I'd probably be leaving the show anyway.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, let's do this again. I'm gonna upload this, and we're gonna get I will get a lot of angry emails from people that we were not very nice to.
I'm forwarding everything to you.
That's fine. That's okay. And let's do this again. Hopefully this was slightly fun.
I enjoyed it.
Okay, excellent. I was going to give it maybe a 6 out of 10 on the fun scale. Okay. Thanks so much for joining me. I will have links to all your websites and all your bullshit in the YouTube description. And if you actually watch this whole thing, God bless you. That's amazing. I can't believe it.